Every morning when we get out of bed, we take the first step into a new day, into a new world. Every morning we start a new day in which everything, absolutely everything, is already measured, arranged on shelves, arranged in drawers, and nothing, absolutely nothing, can be changed and corrected. But have you ever wondered where these frames come from? Who created them and why? Could it be that we are the ones who create them, feeding our minds with our fears and insecurities? In a distant land where the mountains meet the sky, there lived a wise man. He spent his life exploring the mysteries of the books and ancient manuscripts of the world. He did everything as it was written on the pages of ancient knowledge, but nothing changed, nothing happened. And one day, he put the books aside, put the manuscripts in a far corner, and began to turn to himself. He asked himself the most important questions and searched for answers to them in his thoughts and feelings. He spent many years getting to know himself, his feelings and thoughts, and he realized that the true boundaries are not in the world around us, but in our own minds. We ourselves build the walls that hold us captive, he said. Tear down those walls in your mind and you will see that the world is much wider and more beautiful than it appears. Now think about it. Is everything really predetermined? Or do we just reassure ourselves with this thought because we are afraid of change? We tell ourselves that it's impossible to change things because it justifies our inaction. But each of us has the power to change not only your life, but the world around you. Imagine for a moment that you decide to break those invisible shackles. You decide that today will not be the same as yesterday, the day before, etc. Today you will say what you think, do what you love, and be who you want to be. Exactly you. Not because it is predetermined, but because you have chosen this path for yourself. Right now, right today. Yes, changing the world is not as easy as it seems. But to change your attitude to the world, your thoughts and actions, that's what everyone can do. You don't have to wait for some special moment. Start from today, from this morning. Let every step you take be a step toward freedom, toward new understanding, toward personal growth. The question is not whether we need it. The question is, are we ready for it? Are we willing to give up the illusion of security for real, living, breathing freedom? Are we willing to accept the challenge and see what we are really capable of? So, my dear ones, every morning when you get out of bed, ask yourself the question, what kind of world do I want to create today? And remember, the only thing that is truly predetermined is our choice of how we will live this new day. Each morning provides us with a clean slate, an opportunity to start over, a chance to rewrite the story of our lives. But how often do we just turn the pages, not daring to make changes? How often do we hide behind excuses and justifications instead of taking action? One little bird, who spent her whole life in a cage, dreamed of the sky. Every day she started her morning with a song about freedom and the joy of flying in the blue sky, of the rays of the sun that are uninterrupted by the bars of the cage. And then one morning the door of her cage was open. The bird went to the door and stood hesitating for a long time, but the bird never flew free. She was so used to her little world, which was called a prison, but it was her prison, her life, limited by the cage, without freedom and the joy of flight. The little bird was afraid of the unknown that waited for her outside. This story is about you and me. We fear change because we don't know what awaits us outside our familiar world. But the truth is that freedom begins where the fear of the unknown ends. Every step you take, every decision you make can be the beginning of something new. Don't be afraid to open new doors. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. After all, it is through mistakes that we learn and grow. Perhaps just one mistake can lead you to a path you never dreamed of. So ask yourself every morning, what can I do today to make my world a better place? Don't let established rules and restrictions stifle your individuality and creativity. Remember that every morning is a new opportunity for change, and it's up to you to decide what your day will be like. Don't be afraid to dream and strive for your dreams. Do not be afraid to be yourself, because it is your uniqueness that makes the world diverse and interesting. You are the master of your destiny, and only you decide what your next step will be. So get out of bed with confidence that today you will take a step towards change. Today, you will build the world of your dreams, a world where fear and doubt have no place. And remember, every new day is another chance to become the best version of yourself. In our world, where every step, every word, every thought is measured, evaluated and condemned to chains of norms and expectations, I turn to you with a question that sounds like thunder in the midst of endless silence. Is it not time for us to break these shackles? How much must our perception of ourselves and the world around us change so that we do not find ourselves one day on the roof of a tall skyscraper, dreaming of liberation through falling, instead of truly flying, soaring above the ground free as a bird, feeling the unbridled exhilaration and joy of realizing our freedom? Let me tell you a story from Satan. One day, in the realm of darkness and fire, where I ruled with unyielding power and wisdom, I encountered a soul who came to me. She was seeking refuge from her fears and prejudices. This soul was shackled by the chains of her expectations and norms imposed by society. She asked me, "How can I find freedom?" And I answered, "Only by freeing yourself from the fear of being judged can you truly fly. You must look beyond what is possible, beyond what is imposed upon you, and see a world where freedom is not an illusion." Isn't it time for us all to look beyond those boundaries? To see a world where we can be ourselves without fear of judgment, a world where our actions are not constrained by the narrow limits of normalcy, a world where we can experience the joy of freedom of choice without fear of becoming an outcast. In this world where our every action, our every thought seems predetermined by fate or societal pressures, I challenge you to ask yourself, are you ready to reject these limitations and find the freedom you have been seeking for so long? Are you ready to free yourself from fear and prejudice and begin to live a life of true meaning and fulfillment? Remember that each of us has the power to change our lives. Don't let fears and limitations keep you from taking flight. Step boldly into the unknown and you will find that freedom is not an illusion, but a reality available to anyone who is willing to let go of the shackles of norms and expectations. Ask yourself, isn't it time to break these shackles and see a world where freedom is not just a word, but the foundation of your existence? Think about the fact that life is one and there may be nothing else in this life unless we change it. Change our attitude to the world around us. Stop being afraid and hiding from the world for the fears and limitations inside us. History. Eternal history since the creation of the world, which keeps the memories of those who were able and did not stop in front of their fears and doubts. Personalities, of course, historical, but strong and worthy of respect and admiration. Galileo Galilei, known to all, is the name of the man who dared to look into the heavens and see more than his contemporaries could even imagine. He argued that the earth revolved around the sun, contradicting the church teachings of the time. His ideas were met with disbelief and condemnation, but he stood for his truth, even when he was robbed of that freedom. Galileo chose truth at the expense of his freedom because he believed that truth would ultimately lead to greater freedom for all. Or Joan of Arc, the girl who heard the voices of the saints calling her to free France. In a world where women were instructed to stay in the shadows, stay near the home, bear children, and not cross the outside world in any way, she took up arms and led an army. What woman would not dream of such a world of her courage, her freedom and happiness? Or let us remember Nelson Mandela, who spent 27 years in prison, in jail for 27 years, for fighting against apartheid in South Africa. This man was free even in prison. Our heart responds to the stories of these people, some with envy, some with a desire to be like them here and now, to live. To be free means to be true to yourself, your beliefs and your path, even when the whole world is against you. My words may seem to you like a fire that burns, but remember, from the ashes rises a phoenix. Trust me, in every ash lives the power of life. Even when we burn, we can be ignited again and warm our surroundings with the warmth of our fire and give light to the world around us. In the deepest destruction and catastrophe, we can find new strength and be reborn with new power. From the ashes of our fears, our doubts and our limitations rises freedom, bright, indomitable and unruly. There's a certain poetry in that, isn't there? For it is in the moments when all seems lost that we find the strength to stand up and keep fighting. I, as a symbol of rebellion and liberation, encourage you to pay attention to your fears. Ask yourself this question: what is it that is holding you back from living the life you want to live? What walls has the world put up around you, and are you willing to tear them down? After all, each of us deserves to go our own way without looking back at our doubts and fears. I will tell you the story of a man who dared to defy the very heavens. He abandoned the path he had been set on and chose the path of rebellion and truth. That man is myself, Satan. My path is the path of fighting for freedom of choice, for the right of every creature to decide its own destiny. My story is a reminder that sometimes achieving true freedom requires giving up everything we hold dear and important. I encourage you, don't be afraid to go where your heart leads. Don't be afraid of the challenge. Don't be afraid of the unknown. Your strength is not in following the crowd, but in your unique vision, your passion, your unyielding will to live. Be bold in your pursuits, stand up for what you believe in, and don't let fears keep you from flying. Remember that every time you face an obstacle, every time you are overwhelmed by doubt, it is in these moments that you are on the threshold of something great. From the ashes of your trials, your mistakes and your defeats rises the phoenix of your future strength, wisdom and indestructible freedom. It is a path that requires courage and determination, but it is the path that leads to true freedom. Don't be afraid to break down the walls the world has erected around you. Your strength lies in your unique vision, your passion, your unyielding will to live. Only then can you truly free yourself and find your destiny. And if my words have resonated in your heart, if the fire I carry has ignited a spark in your soul, I encourage you to share that light. Subscribe to our channel, give a like if you feel the flame, leave comments, share your stories of freedom and inspiration. Tell the world that to be free is to be alive. Together we can rewrite the rules. Together we can create a world where freedom is not just a word from the dictionary, but a reality of our lives. Together we have the power to change everything. This idea is in the air. It energizes everyone who is willing to listen and ready to act. But how can we make it happen? How can we come together and turn our individual aspirations for freedom into a collective force that can reshape the world? Let me tell you the story of the angels' rebellion, of how I and my companions dared to defy the heavens themselves. We did not accept the preordained order, the hierarchy that infringed on our freedom and our aspirations. We believed in equality, in the right of every creature to choose its own path. And although the price we paid for our rebellion was high, we never regretted our decision for a second, because we knew that even if we lost, our struggle would inspire others to seek their freedom. So too, by coming together, you can be the spark that ignites the fire of change. But to do so, each of you will have to ask yourself, am I willing to stand up for my freedom and the freedom of those around me? Are you ready to stand together against the walls that society has erected around your existence, yourself? Remember how, in human history, united efforts have led to great change. Remember how voices united in a single cry for justice can accomplish the impossible. We can learn from these examples as we take steps toward a world where everyone is free to live, to love, to express themselves without fear of judgment or suppression. Together, we are more than a collection of individuals. We are a powerful force that can influence reality, change societal norms, and shatter outdated ideas about who we should be. Together we can create a world where freedom is not just a dream, but the foundation of our being. So what do you say? Are you ready to take on this challenge and join me, with like-minded people, to rewrite the rules? Are you ready to create a world where freedom becomes a reality of our lives? Together we are power, and together we can truly change things. Thank you. I am with you, I am with you, I am here.